My devotional today comes from Richard Rohr's Everything Belongs. I started reading that in order to prepare a devotional, but before I was through, I veered off from it, as you'll see. He starts out by saying that our internal dialogue is ego-driven. It's based on anger and fears and judgmentalism and comparing ourselves to others. And it determines what we will see or what we will not see of reality. And so it can distort. It's based on the ego, which wants to be liked, to be accepted, to be successful, to be powerful, influential, wealthy. But the opposite of that is contemplative prayer, which is Richard Rohr's main point. Contemplative prayer does away with the ego when it's successful. It encounters God's grace and freedom. And freedom brings with it responsibility for self, responsibility for one's own actions. The Christian doctrine of free will is not being taught, it's not being preached, it's not being received. Instead, we want to blame others for our status or our situation. We want to blame society, or we want to blame our parents, our upbringing. We don't remember President Kennedy's 1961 inaugural, in which he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." The problem is that we don't think of that way, and demands for one's rights is in sacrifice of one's responsibilities. Rights and entitlements come at the expense of someone else. A healthy ego accepts responsibility for one's self. The Christian healthy ego wants to give back in gratitude for all that God has done for oneself. Self-giving love defines Christianity, and it's expressed in serving others. That love of Eric Liddell, the medalist runner who went to not communist China, but went to China under Japanese oppression and ended up dying in a POW camp there. That love of Mother Teresa in lifting the untouchables out of the gutter with leprosy or other horrible illnesses. That love of the Salvation Army worker ringing a bell in the freezing snows of the city in order to raise alms for the poor. That love of leaving the comforts of home to go into Mary H. Wright School and teach a child to read. That love of leaving home and going to the sad, the sick, the lonely to visit. That's the Christian love that St. James talked about when he said, true religion is visiting widows and orphans in their distress. That love taught by Jesus, who said, if you have done it or not done it to the least of these, you have done it or not done it to me. So let us not ask what our country, our city, or our church can do for us. Let us ask what we can do for them and for God. God bless you, and remember that you are loved.